I moved from 3,100 feet to close to 7,000 feet, and I have had to adapt my baking and cooking because of it. A friend of mine told me about this book, and I've been experimenting with it. Over the weekend, I made a lemon meringue pie, which came out fabulous, and today I'm using a recipe in here to make some biscottis. Let me show you the recipe. So I didn't feel like chocolate and pecan biscotti. However, in here there's other adaptations to the recipe, and so I chose the lavender honey rosemary biscotti, and I'm going to take you through the recipe. I'll show you what I adapted a little differently from the recipe, and I'll put it below the video in case any of you all are at least 7,000 feet above sea level and would like to make these. For the granulated sugar, her recipe actually called for a cup of sugar at the 7,000 foot mark. Knowing that this recipe was also going to use the half a cup of honey, I chose to cut the sugar down to a half a cup as well. Interestingly, she said to further strengthen the batter, the butter and the sugar could be reduced, and you'll see where she goes from 1 cup at sea level to 2/3 of a cup at 10,000 feet. So I think my choice of cutting it down to a half a cup was the correct thing to do. And you'll see in the video what I've done with the flour and how I chose to mix it in, and then use the last little bit to knead the dough together. Anyway, biscotti just means twice baked, and I think that these would also be really yummy, but that's for another video. Since the recipe called for up to 2 3/4 cups of flour sifted, I went ahead and sifted 3 cups. However, I'm not going to mix all of it into the salt and baking powder that's required for the recipe, as the recipe recommended holding out part of the flour to use as kneading on the floured surface at the end once everything is mixed together. So we'll see how much additional flour I need. I'm going to put 2 cups of the flour into the bowl to mix with the baking powder and salt, and add accordingly as I see how the liquid ingredients impact these dry ingredients. There's the salt and baking powder, and now I'm just going to whisk it into the 2 cups of pre-sifted flour. Okay, butter and sugar are creamed. Now I'm going to add the eggs, the vanilla, and the half a cup of honey, as well as the lavender and rosemary and the lime juice. Just added the honey, and now I have the 3 eggs. I'm going to whisk those and put them in. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now the lavender blossoms and the chopped rosemary. And next I'm going to start mixing in the flour, but I'm going to turn the sound off so y'all don't have to listen to the beater going. Okay, I scraped down the sides of the bowl and mixed the batter again. I'm going to start adding a quarter of a cup of the extra flour at a time until I get this to a less sticky dough mixture that I can put out onto a floured surface to shape into the logs. And again, I'm going to turn the sound off on this next part so you don't have to listen to the beaters. Okay, so now we're at 2 3/4 cup of flour, which is the amount the recipe specified. However, I think this is still a little too sticky, so I'm going to go ahead and add another 1/4 cup to this and mix it in, and then I'll see where we're at. Okay. So just about a 1/2 cup left over from that 3 cups of flour initially used. Okay, well, it's just a little shy of 13.5. However, the height is good, and I can probably push the width together just a little bit more because it was 1 3/4, although that's close. And then I still need to shape the other one and then place them on the pan. Okay, fixing to put these into the oven. The rack is on the lower third of the oven, and the biscottis are going to go in for their first bake. Got the timer set for 20 minutes. See you then. Okay, let's go look in the oven and see what's happening. Okay, they look good. I'm going to pull them out. They have to cool a little bit, and then we're going to slice them and rebake them for the second bake. So we're going from 350 down to 325. Let's see what the bottoms look like. Ooh, that looks pretty darn good. All right. The next step was to slice the biscotti on an angle about a 1/2 inch wide, and now I'm going to place them back on the cookie sheet. They're going to go back into the oven at 325 Fahrenheit for between 15 and 18 minutes. And when I put them on the rack, they're going to be cut side down. You'll see. Okay, ready to go back in the oven. Okay, They're just now out of the oven. I let them go for 18 minutes, and I'm going to spread them out on the cookie rack to cool down and then have a taste test. I wish y'all were here to taste test with me. Well, I'm eating one of the end pieces, or in German, the Näpfchen, the heel of the bread. It is crispy. I can get a hint of the sage honey. So if you just used a regular honey, the flavor would be a little less herbal. But between the rosemary, the lavender, and the sage honey, oh my gosh, these are incredible. I'm going to be sharing them tonight with some friends, and let me show you what I've got to go with those. When I was in the grocery store, this is actually what inspired me, this and knowing that I had seen the biscotti recipe in the cookbook. I hope you all enjoyed this. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what other kinds of things you would enjoy seeing, and I will catch up with y'all in the next video.